Hey everyone, welcome back to Week 2 battle against the Wichita Weaviles. We did our team builder and released it a couple days ago. The link will be down in the description if you guys like to see that. So today we'll be going over the battle. I'll be doing some post-commentary over it so I could actually focus during the fight. So I decided to start off with Brute Bonnet and Hatterene. We talked about this a little bit in the team builder. I wanted to put two different types of pressure on the team. That was either force them to either respect the fact that Hatterene might fire off a Dazzling Gleam, or the Brute Bonnet could put off spores and stuff like that. What I was actually going for, as you'll see, is a Trick Room with Hatterene and Rage Powder under Brute Bonnet. I decided to start off with Hatterene instead of Rabska. Rabska has Revival Blessing, and I felt like that would be more valuable as the game went along as well, which is why I went with Hatterene as Trick Room setter instead of Rabska. This setup was something I was pretty happy to see, actually. A Dazzling Gleam could put in a lot of work against it. I don't think I mentioned in Team Builder, we ran Booster Energy on Brute Bonnet for Photosynthesis, since we weren't planning on running it alongside Torkoal much. So I go for Trick Room here. I completely forgot Weavile had Fake Out. I figured the Trick Room would have more long-term benefits. And if we get a Trick Room up, we would be able to just Dazzling Gleam the next turn anyway. Especially against things as fast as Weavile and Dragapult. I wasn't worried about them outspeeding me. So right now, I'm already pretty far behind. Brute Bonnet's lost more than half its health. There's not a whole lot it's going to be able to do, and Hatterene got flinched. Just hoping another Rage Powder would do some work. Thought about switching into the Torkoal. Ended up doing it just to resist what I was hoping the Flamethrower from Dragapult coming in. Hopefully it could put in some work, and it would also get Sun Up for me. So while we'd be boosting the Flamethrower, such as that, we didn't really have anything that was too weak to it. We didn't bring Scoville in this week. The biggest thing was King Gambit. So we finally get Trick Room up, which is our big win condition this week. As mentioned in the team builder, it's the Weaviles are running a pretty fast team, as you can already see by the first two. Nice thing about this Torkoal set is we have two fire spread moves, and it brings its own sunlight, which most weeks is going to be pretty helpful. The previous week, I was worried about my opponent bringing Tyranitar to set up Sand in the sun. I was not expecting the double switch here. But he puts in two electric types, which could pay off, and we've wasted 2 of the 3 turns on Hatterene between the flinch and the protect into nothing. Luckily, we have Terra Ground Torkoal. That against this, I was hoping would be pretty effective. It's 4 times effective on the Iron Thorns, which is another reason I brought Terra Ground this week. One thing Terra Ground doesn't do is it still gives us a water weakness, which would have a small thing to do later on in these matches. But now we get Stab Earth Power. And I also find out that Belly Bolt's a beefy boy. So, Torkoal gets a KO. Again, Stab Earth Power against an Iron Thorns was... If that didn't KO, I was going to have a lot of questions. I didn't run any calcs this week. We did lose Hatterene there, which is too bad, but it was kind of to be expected. So we still have Trick Room up, so we decided to go for King Gambit. And coming up is actually where I make one of the biggest mistakes. I made it during Team Builder, but I didn't realize it till here. And that would be... I thought Kowtow Cleave was Steel-type. That's why I don't have Iron Head on it. I 100% thought it was Steel-type. I was keeping track of my opponent's team in, like, Showdown, And so when I saw Kowtow Cleave not be very effective coming up, I was under the assumption that Florges had used some sort of ability or held item to change its typing. And I had just missed it. So my dumb butt did not realize it in time. And so I think I actually go for a second Kowtow Cleave afterwards. Even being resisted, it does quite a bit. Ironhead definitely would have KO'd. We would have gotten the super effective typing, so it would have been double damage instead of, is that half damage? Luckily, Torkoal's sticking on the field for a while, which is another point of this ground set. I didn't think he had a lot of ways to deal with the ground Terra typing. The biggest one of the bigger ones I was concerned about was this Weavile. So at this point, I knew it already had Fake Out, so I'm expecting that to come in. I still have it in my mind that did Florges change its typing? Why wasn't it effective? That's why I was considering the Heat Wave there for a second, in case it changed it to, I don't know what. I can't remember exactly what I was worried about, but... Go for Protect, expecting a Fake Out into the Torkoal. Which... happened. And then we get the Brick Break, one of the reasons I brought it, and at this point I find out it has Focus Sash, which is very important information to have later. That was a new one. We had brought Safety Goggles on the King Gambit to stop anything like Rage Powder and maybe like stuff like that from the Jump Bluff that I figured was coming out this week. So losing Safety Goggles was a little rough. So I'm a little lost in what to do here. That Florges is becoming an issue. I think at this point I realize Kowtow Cleave is Dark type. And I'm worried about Trick Room running out as well. But I want to try to finish him off. Alright, so I fire off one more Kowtow Cleave. It's probably after this one I realize what's going on. We find out that Weavile is A, faster, and has Brick Break. Actually, now that I remember not seeing Trick Room go down here. I thought I still had another turn of Trick Room, which is why I went for this went for those moves instead of a switch into a Trick Room setter, or more defensive stuff. I thought I had one more turn, and that kind of swung the entire match here. So we still have Rabsca for Revival Blessing. At this point, I'm worried about what I'm going to bring back and how I'm getting Trick Room back up, though. I decided to go for a variation of what we did earlier with the Hattery, or with the Brute Bonnet and the Trick Room setter. I also don't know why I thought I would be able to do a lot of work with Synthesis instead of just getting stuff up. So, like, either putting out damage or doing some sort of utility move. And again, more good information to grab. He terrestrializes. And I find out that Weavile doesn't have some sort of weird defensive typing change on the Terra. It's just more stab on ice. And for that reason. Did a lot less than I was expecting. And we were fortunate enough to live. We get a Synthesis off. I remember thinking at the time, I was a little surprised he didn't try to KO the Brute Bonnet. Brute Bonnet, even the offensive version I brought last week, brings in Spore at minimum. And so now knowing that he's faster, I can hopefully get a Spore off. Maybe a Revival Blessing as well, since we have Trick Room up. I'm still not confident about this, because he still has Jump Bluff in the back. Which I was a little bit worried about, and Dragapult as well. But under Trick Room, I was definitely more comfortable. Fair, there's not really a reason to have Rabska switch back, like switch out Rabska for something. Just get the Revival Blessing off. That's why I drafted it. There's other Trick Room setters, but Rabska is one of the 2 Pokemon, as mentioned in my draft overview, that has Revival Blessing. Remembering that he still has Dragapult in the back, and I'm facing a Weavile on the field, I wanted to go with Hatterene. That Weavile was quickly dealt with. I didn't have a good answer for Florges at this point. Not having a Steel-type move on King Gambit was a big issue. So, seeing as it's bulky with a good typing I don't have an answer for with leftovers, I knew this game was probably over. Once I realized my mistakes. So we have Trick Room up. I wanted to bring out Hariyama. It's can be pretty effective. I felt like I'd put good coverage moves on it for this week. And I felt like with Brute Bonnet being fairly healthy after the synthesis, having Spore and Rage Powder, I could give it some help. I make a mistake here, though. I got greedy for the Rock Slide flinches instead of trying to just protect to proc the Flame Orb. So that did a lot of damage, but I got super lucky on that. He hits a Sleep Powder, and especially now, I know it's going to be rough. Sleep Powder also stops my Flame Orb. So Hariyama's very middling right now in this situation. Wanted to keep it out, try to have a advantage in the Trick Room. Maybe we could get lucky with an early sleep break. But against Florges with Moonblast, it was a little rough. We did manage to make it go to sleep, which, again, is one reason I'm a little surprised Brute Bonnet was able to stay around for as long as it did, because it could start bowling, stuff like that. And then I realized this little shitter Jumpluff has Strength Sap. Good information to know, but that's just a pain in the butt. I think at this point I gave up, and I couldn't remember. Maybe it was next turn. Actually, it might have been next turn. But I eventually fire off a Spore into Jumpluff because I can't remember if Spore affects grass types or not. I was trying to gather information for the next 2 games. But I think that's next turn to the turn after. So it didn't break out round 1. I thought with the synthesis coming out, I might have a decent chance to have Hatterene live. Which worked out with the Rage Powder going in. It was a pretty good time to switch in. Of course, he broke out pretty fast and then takes out Hatterene. I don't know if the crit mattered. Again, I didn't run calcs on anything. The crit might have mattered. But... So all I'm hoping for now is just a chance for Hariyama to break out of sleep. Maybe get off a couple lucky Rock Slide flinches. I'm out of Trick Room setters. Is that. I surprisingly lived that, which I was happy about. And I think we're getting... Yeah, they have Tailwind up. Yeah, we didn't break out of it again. I don't know all of the rules around sleeping and when you can and can't break out of it. But I remember just thinking, please let me wake up. Please. Yeah, here's where I fire off the Spore. Because worst comes to worst, they have... Or Jump Bluff has Strength Sap and can continuously just wear down the Brute Bonnet if it had the All My Friends Are Dead syndrome later on. Spore, here's where I find out it doesn't affect Jump Bluff, which not only is useful information here, it's useful information for the rest of the season. And we're still asleep. So at this point, it's just kind of waiting for the hammer to fall. We know it's coming, but... Even if we get Hariyama back now. It might have woken up on the last turn. I actually don't remember. I'm recording this a couple days after the actual match. It woke up again. Used All in Puff. Florgus wakes up twice before my Hariyama wakes up. We finally get it. But at this point, it's been double strength sapped and just doesn't have anything left in the tank. Finally get the burn off with 33 hit points left. Not under Trick Room anymore. Yeah. At this point, after seeing another Strength Sap, unless he was trying to just not give me more information, I was fairly convinced that Jump Bluff didn't have any damaging moves, which I used a little bit later on. Anyway, that was game one. I made some pretty big misplays, and I got outplayed also pretty hard. I missed a couple big pieces of information as well, such as the Trick Room going down with the Torkoal and King Gambit out. So for game two, I knew I wanted to switch things up a little bit. I didn't want to keep the same opener, especially with how hard it was shut down in the early game by the fake out and then into the double switch. So I decided to go with Torkoal as well as a Trick Room setter, I believe. I actually don't remember. I knew I wanted Torkoal because it provides pressure. And then, yes, Rabska as a Trick Room setter. Torkoal provides different pressure than a Brute Bonnet. Brute Bonnet forces enemies to focus it through Rage Powder. Torkoal just forces enemies to focus it because of Eruption in the Sun. And if they focus down the Torkoal, we get Rabska to get Trick Room up. We discussed this a little bit in the Team Builder. Also, you'll notice during this match, if you look in the bottom left of the screen, we only brought 5 Pokemon. I thought it would auto-complete and give us the 6th Pokemon. So we have 5 Pokemon this match. But it worked out, as you'll see. So yeah, we just go with the strategy we were talking about. Again, he knows I have a Terra Ground Torkoal. So he might not keep Belly Bolt in. Luckily, we avoided the Paralysis, which is huge. And we get that off. So it didn't KO anything, but now we have Trick Room up. Torkoal is going to be faster than anything they have in Trick Room. Rabska's kind of done its job. So our goal here is to get it out. Get in another sweeper, probably. But no reason not to hit Eruption again, especially because it's still at full health and goes first. So King Gambit should do some work. It provides a physical attacker to go alongside our Torkoal. Torkoal is still in the sun, still under Trick Room. Pretty much ideal conditions for it. I don't think he really has anything on his team that wants to switch into the Torkoal using Eruption. Maybe Dragapult could take a hit. They could soak it fairly well. Jump Bluff definitely can't. Iron Thorns might be able to, but then he runs the risk of me just Earth Powering it the turn after. 2 KOs for Torkoal. And we get rid of that pesky Florgus, which is an absolute pain. So again, I think we've taken 1 attack so far this fight. Iron Thorns, I'm pretty happy, like, seeing it. We still outspeed it. We can fire off an Earth Power at it. And then Weavile as well. We just have to worry about the Fake Out here. So I decided to go for a Protect. just to stop the extra damage from lowering Eruption's power. So I was hoping he'd go into Torkoal with stuff. I'm not sure what the thought was behind this Terra typing, or why Terrastalize to bug against a Torkoal in Sun. This honestly confused me quite a bit. But Protect. That was not where I was expecting it to go. And the Dragon Dance, again, confused me a little bit. You're now a faster bug against a Torkoal in Sun and Trick Room. Just, it confused me, to say the least. I'd love to know what the thought was for bug typing on the Terra. Without that Focus Sash, Torkoal would be at 4 KOs. As it is, he's still at 3.999 for the fight. And yeah, King Gambit can just come in and clean it up pretty quickly without much of an issue. So again, this match, we were pretty lucky to get pretty much ideal conditions set up for Torkoal. Sun's still up, Trick Room's still up. He has a Jump Bluff in the back and Dragapult. But again, Jump Bluff, I don't think has any priority moves. Maybe it has Rage Powder that it would use, but there's no reason to not hit Eruption again. And then just cleave the Dragapult. We have Safety Goggles, so I should... At this point, I realize, oh crap, it's Dark type, not Steel type. Yeah, just get rid of the Jump Bluff. Not very effective and still took half its health. And there we go. Again, we got really lucky this match. We got everything set up, and Torkoal just went to absolute town on him. It was pretty great. Alrighty, so getting into Game 3, I did not want to go with the same setup I did Game 2. I figured he'd be expecting it. So I decided to go with the same opener as Game 1. Even though it didn't work out, I kind of knew what I should have been looking for this time. So we went with Brute Bonnet and Hatterene. Just as a heads up in future episodes, this will be sped up or cut out, so it's a little smoother. This didn't really surprise me. He's been leading off, like, at least one of these two quite often. The Fake Out from Weaviles, a lot of pressure, and Dragapult's just fast. Here I was regretting a little bit not going Protect. I felt that a couple weeks that I'm upset that... Not upset, I keep wishing I'd brought Protect on my Brute Bonnet. So we correctly guessed a Fake Out, which probably saved us a decent amount. Unfortunately, we get burned there, so Brute Bonnet's in quite a bit of trouble. Even though it's a little more utility and defensive based this week, we did put some EV or attack EVs into it, as you can see in the team builder we released a couple days ago. Just having that attack cut hurts. Wasn't really the point of Brute Bonnet, but happens. At this point, I know I want to get Trick Room up since, once again, I know it's the key of the matchup. Weavile being asleep and being withdrawn isn't hugely surprising. The Florges is going to be a pain in the butt, but... Since I messed up with Kowtow Cleave, not too surprised. He did this game 1 as well, so the double switch didn't surprise me that much. That's why I was fairly safe going for the Trick Room. And I covered my bases with Rage Powder, just in case. So this turn I knew I was getting Trick Room up, basically. which is pretty helpful. Here I have to remember that Florges has Moonblast. And I think I actually forgot that. I wanted to test to see how much Psychic would do to it. The answer is not a lot, because that thing is bulky. In the future, I think I'll have a pretty decent time against it. If I have to face it again, but this week it definitely presented problems. Might have been his MVP this week. Even though it didn't do like a ton of damage and anything, it still put in a ton of work, and it was an issue for me to work around. Here, I'm fairly committed to letting Brute Bonnet go down, rather than trying to switch it out and do something with it later. That might just be an easy KO for my opponent. So I figured I'd try to get the damage in while I could. I really want to get rid of this Florges. That's why I'm doubling into it. You know, Psychic doesn't do a ton. It does about 25%. If I wasn't burned, that happens. And of course, he gets a one-turn wake-up. We could not get Hariyama to wake up earlier. I think this is the first time I saw Rock Blast, and I'm going to go with Ow. So if he's running, like, loaded dice or something, or I don't know if Iron Thorns get skill link, I might have gotten unlucky that I got all 5 hits instead of 4. I think loaded dice is 4 or 5. Skill link's always 5. This actually isn't bad. We still have Trick Room up. We get to switch in 2 Pokemon at once. I'm not disappointed by having things go down here. By having both of them go down here. I know I debated a while on what I wanted to do here. Wanted to keep Torkoal in the back just so I got a slightly better matchup. I felt like Hariyama could do quite a bit. Even against the Florges. I thought for sure I'd be able to KO it here. I figured in the face of Hariyama, he probably wasn't keeping that out. And even if he did, I was fine knocking off whatever he had. And we got very lucky that he put out a Dragapult. And with knockoff, gonna do some work. That was disappointing. That was super helpful. Again, he lives with 2 HP, but I think this might have been the pivotal point of the game. If you want to give my Hariyama leftovers, go for it. I am perfectly fine with that. I think we got Flame Orb to go off once these 3 battles though, which was disappointing. So I gotta do a better job of buying it time to get Flame Orb up. Or I just bring Sheer Force. But that's fine. I'm not too worried about it when it comes back out. Belly Bolt's a bit more of an issue. We do get a Revival Blessing off, which is very nice. Again, that's why I use Rabska. The Trick Room was just an extra bonus for our team. And with the Dragapult still in the back, and I think his Weavile still up at this point too. Want to go with Hatterene. Try to think if there was a reason I would go Brute Bonnet, and it just hadn't been doing too well again, or too well this week. But we got rid of the Florges. I gotta be completely honest, I still don't know what his ability does. I haven't looked it up. I just kind of figured I'd keep firing attacks into it until it got KO'd. But now he has Iron Thorns, Belly Bolt, and Dragapult left, I think. In which case Torkoal will do quite a bit of work against it. Oh, and Jumpluff. This Jumpluff was annoying. I was still fairly convinced it didn't have a damaging move. It was still annoying. Yep. We weren't in Trick Room anymore, and I knew I wanted to get it back up, and I didn't think Jumpluff... for some reason I had in my mind Jumpluff had Spore, not Sleep Powder. And so the fact that he hit this was an issue. Because that puts me in a tough spot. Because my only other Trick Room setter is Hatterene that's currently at 50% hit points. We had one speed mode this week, and that was slow and hope the dimensions get twisted. That's a pain, but... Wanted to get rid of the item. I think the wide lens is what gave him pretty good accuracy on, Sleep Powder. In fact, I'm like pretty sure it is. This week, bringing Focus Sash didn't really do anything for Rabska. And I'm just trying to get rid of held items at this point with Hariyama, who's pretty healthy. Yeah, I don't care about the attack drops right now. I just want to get rid of items and leave his Pokemon naked for all intents and purposes. Plus, I know that once Torkoal comes out, as long as it doesn't get put to sleep or... Yeah, that was unfortunate. Put to sleep or... Nope, completely lost my train of thought. As long as it doesn't get put to sleep, or paralyzed by the Belly Bolt, it'll be able to just put in work. So I figure here there's probably some stuff going into the Torkoal. We're still probably going to fire off an Eruption here. Trash Slides into ground just in case there is something like a Thunder Shot coming in, or a Thunder Wave. And then... take this opportunity. This could have been a big point. If he had predicted the switch and me going into Hatterene to get Trick Room up, since I only had Trick Room Mons left, and that could have been a really big deal. Some Terra crystals look pretty nice. I'm pretty meh about the ground one overall. And that sucked. So this is the first time I'd seen Chilling Water from Belly Bolt. Don't think I saw it earlier in the set. I hadn't done the math on Eruption versus Heat Wave, but I figured a Eruption would still do nasty things to that Jumpluff. And just try to do... Okay. Yep. Here I'm just trying to buy a turn for Torkoal to get up. Which is, okay. I don't know what would have happened, like why the Rage Powder was there. Torkoal's shown Earth Power, which isn't going into the Jumpluff, and then Heat Wave and Eruption, which don't really care about Rage Powder as far as I know. And I'm probably setting up with Hatterene if I'm not Trick Rooming. So the Rage Powder there I thought was pretty interesting. Again, I don't know his thought process. He might have had ideas, like reasons why. But on the field, I only had 2 single target attacks, and they were Psychic and Earth Power. Earth Power doesn't hit Jumpluff. So I guess maybe he thought it was going to go into Belly Bolt with an Earth Power, but With Strength Sap really hindering my King Gambit and Hariyama, the issue is Jump Bluff. Again, Tailwind's interesting, especially because he probably knows I want to set up Trick Room. And that just makes it, like, guaranteed he's not going to be able to work in Trick Room. So there's the Heat Wave, just one-shotting Jump Bluff. And at this point, I'm in a pretty good spot. He has a Dragapult in the back that's really low health. The Belly Bolt. And I have Trick Room up. So unless Torkoal had been asleep for, like, way too long, I was pretty okay. Right, Weavile. Forgot about that. But I knew it had Fake Out, and so I went with Double Protect here. I knew I still had several turns of Trick Room left and a couple turns of Sun. So I just needed to get through the Fake Out. I wasn't sure exactly how much damage it would do, and I didn't want to have, like, Fake Out into Chilling Water on Torkoal or just Fake Out killing the Hatterene. So this round was a whole lot of nothing that benefited me greatly. Even with Weavile asleep, I didn't want to screw around and find out if it was going to wake up and do nasty things to me. So once it stayed asleep, like, I was just covering all my bases. Since I was in a good spot, I didn't want to throw. That's all pretty unlucky. I mean, the Weavile has a Focus Sash, we know, so it not doing well happened there. But with double spread moves, we were going to break that anyway, and I was confident in the damage to get through the Belly Bolt as well. So I think he just has Dragapult in the back. Maybe. At this point, I can't remember if he has Iron Thorns or not. I'm recording this a few days after the battle, and the battle is also at, like, midnight my time. So I'm recording this on Thursday. Battle is Sunday evening. Okay, so he did have Iron Thorns, and he's got... yeah, Dragapult. So I know, I'm going to outspeed both those Mons, and I don't think either one of them has shown Protect. So I just go for double spread, trusting that in the Sun, I'm going to KO both of them, instead of trying to go for something like Earth Power on the Iron Thorns that has Terra Bug. So with this, I'm pretty confident that the double spread move will just KO the Iron Thorns, because it's clearly going to KO the Dragapult. That. The crit might have made a difference this turn. I don't think it made a difference for the battle. Like, I still had King Gambit and Hariyama in the back. I did go for Earth Power. Oh, sorry, I thought I went for Heat Wave. So. But anyway, we had our bases covered for everything. So yeah, we win week 2 on the backs of Torkoal. Thank you for watching, everyone. Keep an eye out for my team builder for week 3, and see everyone then.